Hey guys, this is Lucid, and this is our All-Stars game. So, we've got the turn of, I hesitate to call it reckoning, but this is what the game has been building towards. I suppose you could always say that also. However, this truly is what the game has been building towards. Got attack orders coming in this turn. There's a decent chance Zach and I will record this also, but I'm going back and redoing all the turn orders for this because I fucked up and put lifelong protections on some people. But it's kind of nice to do it from scratch. I don't think I've ever tested so much for a single turn. And Zach did a tremendous amount of more testing than I did probably. But we sat there for like 4 hours figuring out how this would go. And in many ways, I think this captures how you think about like the strategic depth and complexity of Dominions. So much of this is contingency planning, and we like the war hasn't started yet. We don't really know what his research is. I mean, we know what it was. You know, they're down here. We know what it was. We don't really know who's blue. Is that Maryland? Wait, who is this? Is that Satalis? Oh, that's Gripzon. Oh my god, they're crushing research. Anyway, we know what these guys' research is, sort of, but we don't know specifically what it is. We don't know what paths exactly. We know some things. So we're guessing what they're going to do. Like in what their majors are going to do, how many majors they're going to bring, where they're going to move their troops. And there's a lot of guesswork in there and a lot of uncertainty, but a lot you can't not think about. You can't be like, oh, well, it's hard to know or it's uncertain, so we're not going to think about it. That's a recipe to lose. You have to think about all of the different things that, or as many as you can think of, and think about which ones are good for them and which ones aren't. And you also have to try to put yourself in their frame of mind and try to figure out, okay, if I were this player, what am I thinking? And then you start kind of layering it on, and you get different things you need to prepare for. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things we're worried about. One of the things we're worried about is there's a bunch of beast bats here with an Ananqui. They could potentially get on top of our cap, I believe. So we have to patrol our capital, which is always a good thing to do. But we're going to have to mobilize like significant numbers of troops to do this. So that's a thing, but that's not I mean, he could move 200. He could one turn pop our cap. Like, that's one of the reasons we need to patrol is we can't let him get that kind of initiative on us. We are thinking this probably looks to him more scary because I think there's a bigger proportion of Garms here. Like, we've got 80 Garms. So, and up here, I think we have 66. I don't know if it shows up like this for him too, but what we're thinking is his general mindset is we're on the clock. As the game goes later, they're going to scale more in chaff, but we're going to have more debilitating things we can do with Shaitan, with Royal Malaquis, with a bunch of things. So he's thinking we need to strike now. He saw the graphs. That was basically when he ended his nap. And he saw that we were ahead in research. So he's thinking, okay, we've got to strike. This leads me to think that he's going to be very aggressive. Like, is he going to probe? Is he going to do high commitment stuff? I think they're going to roll out very high commitment. I think they're going to hit this. So they have two options. This stack is capable of 2 province movement. So it can either hit any of these provinces, right? It can hit this one or this one. This one, it would hit either moving through these two and coming up here. This one, it would hit moving through this fort, right? So he can also move some of the guys here and the big army here into this one. And this one he can reinforce from here. I don't know if he has any units over here. And these units in the Highland, I don't think would be able to make it, but depends. So basically, he's going to attack these. Now, the first thing that occurred to us is okay, well, what if we let him? We've got a ton of Shaitans. Let's let him get on top of our fort. And then we're going to mess with him. You know, then we can steal his stuff. We can figure out what his script is. We can gym bait him. That's what we were thinking. Let's let him get on top of our fort. And I don't like this. Having a big army of yours pinned inside a fort is really bad strategically, in the sense that next turn he can choose to move off. And if he moves his whole Doomstack over on top of this, right, gets us pinned in the fort, decides to move off, he could come over here, get down here, and get between our big army and our capital. And just cause all sorts of problems. And then if we're busy chasing this big army around, we're pulling stuff back, trying to chase it, we leave our front completely vulnerable. So on one hand, it would be great to be able to, probe him, see what his script is, see how many mages he's bringing, all these things. I'd love to do that, but that would surrender a ton of initiative. It would allow him to take command of where the battles are going to... I mean, he already has some of that, but, he's going to get a ton more discretion if we let him get on top of these forts. He's also probably going to be one turn popping them, too, which makes us start being desperate. And I don't like being desperate. When you're desperate, you start doing silly things. You start spinning gems where you probably don't want to, or things like that. So that was the first thought that had. Let's let him get on top of our forts in Shaitan. And then we're like, oh, no. We can't do that. Next thought was then let's fight them. And we're like, yeah, we can fight him. We'll do turn 1 Earthquake. We can set up 2 Earthquakes at turn 1 in both of these forts. We have enough things for that. We'll do Mass Flight turn 1, which will go off. He can't do Mass Flight turn 1, so he's not going to be able to dodge Earthquake like we will. So we're like, okay, this is going to work. And then after that, we'll do Darkness, and we'll do Mass Protection of our own, and we'll do Fog Warriors, and we'll do Rigor Mortis, and we'll do Relief, and, good luck dealing with all that. This is going to be really tough for him. It's true, it'll be tough for him. Definitely be tough. However, we got that all scripted, and we were like, you know what? We are so freaking all in on this, because we have, a lot of mages. We're doing imp summoning and stuff. We're like, okay, we actually need to test it. So we set up a test game, ran it with what we thought he was going to do. One thing we realized that we hadn't even thought about just by setting up the test game, not even running it, just setting it up, we're like, oh shit, he can do turn 1 Mass Protection. And that will happen before Earthquake. And that will dramatically reduce the damage Earthquake does. So that's a problem. And he has pans, so doing this is trivial, very trivial. So okay, fuck, he's gonna have that. And then we ran the test. And the tests, first of all, it's very easy to lose because he's probably going to bring more stuff, I think. And if we fight him in a straight fight and he brings more stuff, it kind of doesn't go well, even with Power of the Reborn King and the other things we have to help our side. It still hurts. And his chuds are really good. So we had that strategy and we were like, we could do it. We spent hours and hours trying to figure out what to do from our side. Do we put Storm up? Do we not put Storm up? Storm makes a big difference because if both sides are doing Mass Flight, we assumed he would do Mass Flight, just not turn 1. If both sides are doing Mass Flight, then the guy with the numbers advantage benefits from Flight. And the guy without the numbers advantage will benefit from Storm. But also the person with the more mage or priest artillery is going to benefit from Storm. So it's well, how many mages is he going to bring? Well, we don't know. Right, we have indications. Here, if you look at the scout report, there's more Thaumaturgs than Hoburg crossbows. That's a sign. Thaumaturgs, by the way, we can potentially kill with the round 1 Earthquake. A little tricky, but we can do it. Anyhow, we did all that, and we went back and forth testing different things. Storm, no storm, positioning, how do we want our Garms positioned? One thing we found was we really don't want our Garms closing in with the Chuds and a lion. We don't want them meeting up evenly. Just 3 Chuds per square hurts too much. So, we want skeletons in front, and we want the Garms to kind of kill things that get past a few of the skeletons, and a lot of little weird nook and cranny things. But at the end of the day, we were able to get it where we consistently win against the larger army. But that was a large army of our making. They could have different ideas or do different things. This is just our imagining of what could happen. And versus this imaginary army we were fighting, we were getting so we would win. So we were like, okay, well, we'll do this. I don't like that, though. And the reason I don't like it is because we would be fighting, like, let's say 13 or 1,400 dudes, so 1,300 dudes, and we would be bringing like 600. And yeah, we win, but we lose damn near everything except our mage core. And sometimes we would take significant losses on the mage core with flight and all. So I wasn't happy with it, is basically what it was. We just weren't very happy with how it was going. And like, okay, well, what else can we do? And one thing I sometimes do is I'll just pull up the list of spells and just scroll through it. So like, army setup, click on somebody's spells, and then start scrolling through and looking at all of them. And then I saw bone grinding, and I was like, okay, maybe this is the play. We have a pretty good roster for bone grinding. The reason is almost all of our guys are pretty high HP in terms of our main mage core. You know, we've got Raktapada, which are pretty high HP, 27, and we've got our hyena dudes, our plague doctors, which don't have a lot of HP, but they have 2 forms. And that will allow them to survive bone grinding pretty well. And bone grinding as a spell, by the way, does not cost a ton of fatigue compared to other things. You know, it's only like 100. So we actually can get a fair number of bone grindings off. Like 3 of them, which should mostly kill his mage core and put a big, you know, do a lot of damage to his army. And they won't be so fatigued out they can't do anything. So we do that, we zap them with the bone grinding, and then we have them retreat. Bada bing, bada boom, we might have killed a big portion of his army. So then we're like, okay, well, does this work, and how would we do it? And we figure out some of the logistics for doing it. And it's kind of complicated, actually. We have to have mass flight on our dudes. You know, we need enough people on guard commander so that when our mass flight dudes are like, you know, certainly we need people on guard commander too. But when they're running around, and you know, before our mages retreat, they haven't made a lot of space next to the mages for the enemy to jump in, which is definitely something that happens and is annoying. So yeah, anyway, we have to figure all this out about will it work? How will we do it? You know, do we mix in the earthquakes with it? And then afterwards, there's a lot of complexities. And managing all of those is very significant. And we still haven't managed all of them. Like, there's still actually a lot of things that could go very wrong with this. So I'm going to explain some of those to you. And part of this is a refresher because I now have to go do part of the turn. So it's going to be good for me to talk through it before doing it. So one of the things we're very worried about is if they're going all in here, it would absolutely make sense for them to do a gym bait. And that way, if I'm patrolling with this big army here, they would gym bait it and potentially take an easy fight that otherwise would be hard. They have a few ways to gym bait. They don't really have magic phase on their roster. They can do like Infernal Horde or whatever it's called, which is probably not going to be enough. Or where is it? Horde from Hell? Summons a devil and a bunch of imps. They would have to summon a lot of them to trigger the gym bait threshold, I think. And they would basically insta-die. So yeah, I don't think that's a particularly good way. I think they really, in practice, have 2 ways. And one of the ways is their Pretender God, which I believe is a Frost Father. And so he could come in. It's possible they've transformed him too, so he could come in as a big white mage. So that's one way it could happen. The second way it could happen is with this guy right here, Talme the Third Set of Anak. And this guy's an Astral 4, so he can magic phase. He's special. This guy's actually like a wish candidate. He has 3 miscellaneous slots, and he's Astral 4, which means he can cast wish himself. So he's actually very special. You don't want to lose him, but I do think he's a very eminently reasonable... He's a very reasonable person to be coming in and doing a gym bait. Now, the problem is if he does that, the gym bait's going to have 2 effects. One is on a trap, it's going to trigger us to trap our own dudes. So we're potentially going to kill a lot of our own chaff, maybe even kill a mage or 2. That's not great, right? Gem baiting ourselves and zapping us. The other problem is it's going to waste our gems, so our gems won't be present in the second round when the normal phase battle happens. That's not the end of it. There's another problem, and the problem is that normally in the normal phase battle, I want to have all my guys scripted to retreat when they're done with their script. And if they are scripted to retreat, they will retreat after the first battle. It's not good. So, what do we do here? Well, that's a good question. I think the answer is we have the guys in the first round not scripted to retreat, and there's a very high likelihood they'll die and give up whatever gear they have, which sucks. They'll die in the second round, most likely. They have a chance to get HP routed by the army, but it's way better if they run. It's okay. This is a risk we can live with. The other thing that can happen, or the other thing we're going to do, is our armies which are coming in the normal phase, they don't have to worry about the gem baiting attack. So they can be scripted to retreat like normal. However, if things in the gem baiting attack go really badly, like let's say the guy that comes in is a Phoenix Pyre, it's a Phoenix Pyre super combatant or something, and we need a way to deal with him, well, and let's say he wins, we don't deal with him, which I don't think will be the case. I think we have the tools to deal with him. But anyway, let's suppose it doesn't go like that. Like he messes us up in the magic phase. We actually rout the army. We probably want to have redundancy in the second phase to get mass flight off with the second phase, like with the normal phase movement, and with normal phase movement, and also with oh gosh, my head's drawing a blank here. But anyway, we basically are just going to need some redundancy so that if our guys die in the magic phase, some of the important spells will go off, like mass flight in particular, because that's our way out. Like when he surrounds us, because he's doing mass flight, our guys are going to just fly away. We're also opening ourselves up to some risk, which is he could put up Storm. I don't think he puts up Storm here. There's not a strong reason to. He has it says who can random air, but he's not really going to do like air magic. He could do Storm after he does mass flight, and his guys have all run to the other side of the screen, and that would prevent me maybe from flying away and retreating. That would be a really clever move. I don't expect them to do that, but if they do that, it will basically mean we're going to lose all of the mages that were present in doing the trap, and I don't like that. That's not very good. We're also not bringing any Royal Malakwi because they can get magic dueled. That's going to be a problem for us for the rest of the game, to be honest. I don't know if they've picked up on it. I expect they have. So we're expecting like they're going to have like 6 round 1 magic duels. So anyway, that will be... That's basically it. There's other problems with this plan too. The other problems with this plan are we have a lot of multi-province movement, as you can see, like people coming from here going to here, people coming from here, here going to here. And they need to get through these 2 provinces, or these 2 provinces, these 2 provinces, or maybe these 2 provinces. If these things get magic phased attacked, it can mess up my magic phase movement, my normal phase movement, and then they'll just sit in the fort, which is not what we want. So then we have to figure out what to do. Sadly, there's not a ton we can do. We can put enough PD here so that, it's a little less likely. But honestly, we probably should have tried to have guys pre-positioned here, like skeletons, so that they would be able to hold off a magic phase attack. Because if he does Horde from Hell, he'll be able to take this and mess it up. By the same token, we can mess up his magic phase, his normal phase movement if we wanted to. But I think we actually want him to walk into the trap. I think we want him to. So we'll see. The other thing is diplomacy with Satalis has failed, which I think is actually... at first, when they were like, we're ending our Napathy, I was like, okay, that makes sense. They probably should attack us. But as I got thinking about it, I realized it was actually a horrible, horrible idea. Not only because it's going to be a really bad matchup for them, but that's not something that's going to get better or go away. But the real problem is if they're successful, if they, conquer us from both sides or whatever, First of all, I mean, this is not enough to conquer us. Like, it's a little disrespectful, to be honest, to see this little stuff here. But if they did have enough to conquer us, so like even if they're successful, which I think is a pretty big if, then they have basically boxed themselves in with Mammon. And Mammon, to win, they just have to get like one of these underwater thrones. I think this one and this one. Mammon basically, if they get this throne from us, then they just get this underwater one and this one from Satalis, wherever it is. Satalis has one of these border thrones, this one, and they win. Now, what is Satalis going to honestly be able to do against them if they've killed us? I don't think really anything. So, and you might be like, okay, well, they have to pick. Well, if they pick, like if they chose to kill Mammon, there's plenty of people to help that are strong. Like Gripazon could attack us, the elves could attack us, bunch of people could attack us, but nobody's going to be able to help them with Mammon. We got Sea of Ice up, the underwater can't attack us, a completely safe flank, the underwater can't guard any thrones. These guys are completely boned if they kill us. So I think this is an extremely ill-advised war. They did declare war on us after they were fussy with us in another game, so that may be part of it. But I don't know. This just seems extremely ill-advised for them. I think tactically it's not going to work, which, like I said, you know, some of those things it's not going to get better, and so I guess you might as well do it. But like, this is not going to work. I'm just telling you guys. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and maybe it works. I don't think it's going to work. So tactically it won't work, but strategically, even if it did work, it's bad for them. So I don't know. I think a much better option is either go after El Shu and get big, or, because El Shu is probably going to help us with Mammon, it might be better to let them help with Mammon, and then once Mammon's dead, to go after them, or to maybe have both of them go after us. But going after us right now is not the move, I don't think. I think that's like a hardcore losing move. That said, Sack and I have big plans for the future, right? So we certainly will appreciate more time before we have to fight a ton of people. But yeah, I mean, so it's not great for them if they wait, but it's guaranteed to lose, I think, if they attack. But I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see. This is just how I understand the game state and all of that. But I think I'm right. Played a lot of Dominions, but I could be wrong. Who knows? So I think that's it, guys. We're going to script this. Oh, the other thing we're doing, we're magic phasing a dude on top of this fort. And we're going to be sneaking a lot of Shaitan in behind him. And they're going to corrupt probably a lot of Thaumaturgs and Great Boars. Maybe a few Itzes. And that should be glorious. That should be glorious. The guy who we're cloud trapezing in is Home Slice Ipes. And he scripted basically Blessing, Holy Avenger, and then Spam Ashes. There's going to be a bunch of Long Dead there. He'll kill part of it. But he's basically just going to go berserk and start blendering stuff. That is the plan. Do we? I don't think we have any MR in our Bless, do we? No. No, we just have Magic Weapon Spirit Sight. So, if he has a Pan here patrolling and the Pan has Charm, we'll be in big trouble. I don't think he has any Ananqui, but it's hard to know. This is definitely risky. But if it works, we'll be in pretty good shape. I mean, the other thing we could do... We don't really have to magic phase there. We could potentially fly out this dude. And he could do Phoenix Pyre. Oh, that's not going to help against Charm, though. Yeah, okay. If we get Charmed, we get Charmed. I don't think he has Charm. Charm is, I think it's 6. Is it only 5? No. Oh, it's 7. Yeah, he doesn't have Charm. So I think we're fine. And he's going to go Berserk, so he's probably going to turn Timer the Battle. This guy's going to need some Death Gems. This guy needs 3, because he's coming in doing Bone Grinding. And yeah, this is how we have them set up. We're gonna have 4 Communion Slaves. We're gonna probably Communion Slave some of the Ractopotus too, who will be sacrificial, as it were. And yeah. But yeah, those guys are moving in. We're moving in this guy for Earthquake. It's going to be glorious. Could certainly go very, very south, though. This is a kind of weird thing because we're risking a lot of our mages. We're still going to be able to fight if we lose all these mages and it goes horribly sideways. But like we're losing a lot of our matrices. We'll lose the ability to do a lot of our cheese things. Instead, we're going to be much more like blunt instruments, being less intelligent. So that's that. Down here, the fight with Satalis. We spent so much time testing against Mammon. We hardly have even looked at Satalis. I think fighting them is going to be pretty easy. Basically, our Garms will chop them to pieces. We're going to do Darkness. They don't have Dark Vision. We'll do Fog Warriors. They do have magic weapons, but I don't think that's going to matter too much. We'll probably do Mass Flight because we'll have a big numbers advantage too. And then they'll all get surrounded and chopped up and killed. I think the move for them is to consolidate these two armies here. I think what they're going to do is do small armies here. I mean, big armies here. Consolidate, and then do a raiding party over here. We're also going to raid every border province we have with them if we can. We've already got some things coming up here. I'll find somebody else to hit this too. But I think they honestly are giving off really fucking strong food vibes. So if we eat them, though, it's a little bit of a problem. Because that's going to trigger other people to attack us. And I need the other people's help fighting Mammon. There's a chance that Gripazon is going to come through here and fight Mammon. There's also a chance they give Elves passage, like a southern passage here, to come over here and fight Elshu or Mammon or whoever they find. I think they kind of don't want to fight each other right now, but they might. There's kind of some interesting drama. So the Elves wanted a passage across the lake. And Gripazon is a little frustrated because the Elves were very late in helping the underwater war. Like, they waited like 4 turns. I think there was like personal stuff or something. I don't know why they waited that long. Maybe they're waiting for tech. I have no idea. But Gripazon was annoyed. And now they've waited, and now that they've waited and, you know, Gripazon's done the heavy lifting, they want, like, extra passage. So they were getting their panties out of in a wad about this. And I was like, dude, I was telling Gripazon, like, you have a couple options. Either you want to fight them, which means you need to be ready to deal with Dryad bullshit, like, and Elthing, right? Either you want to fight them or you want to do something else. If you want to do something else, you can come in here and eat Satalis. You can come over here. You can fight Mammon, Elshu. You can do some silly diagonal war into me through like 1 or 2 provinces, which will make sense if I'm about to run away with the game, but I don't think it makes sense unless that. But anyway, you know, you need to go do something. Or you may want to do something that's not fighting into a bunch of Dryads once you've finished kicking underwater off the land. Now, if that is the case, then you must give these guys a way to fight somebody. They're too small to sit here and do nothing. If they fight me, they literally are going to give the game to Mammon. Because if I die, I don't know if y'all appreciate how dire it is. If I die, then there's literally nothing that's going to protect this throne from Mammon. And Mammon, I mean, Nat broke Throne Rush in the last game. So they're going to go after this throne, and they're going to get the underwater throne, and literally nobody is going to be able to stop them. So I think if Vinland attacks us, it's a good game. Not for us. I mean, we can probably even maybe hold them off, or at least make it very expensive for them. It's going to be a good game for everybody. So anyway, they could attack us, but that's probably not a good idea. If for whatever reason they don't want to attack Gripazon, they want to come over here and maybe get in on this action, then that is their only choice. Their options are attack Gripazon, attack us, or come over here and mess with people. They can't go underwater, especially with Sea of Ice up. It'd be hard for them to do anyway. So I was telling Gripazon, like, look, guys, like, y'all have to decide what you want to do. You can't be upset about them asking for passage. And they're like, oh, it's 4 whole provinces. I'm like, guys, this is literally the littlest they could ask for. Like, they can't They literally couldn't ask you for less. And they're like, but we won the war. And it's like, yeah, but like, okay, done. You've done that. You've done the heavy lifting. But still, like, what do you want to do? Like, recognize the consequence of your actions. Like, you've won this. I 100% agree. But now what do? You have to do something. You can't not do anything. And these guys can't not do anything. And they're going to have to fight. Grip is on us or somebody over here. Anyway. They've got one last fort to siege through here. I wonder if we have a scout who can go see this. We'll move him over here. But yeah, that's the happenings over here. Underwater is, I'm sure, plotting some horrible scheme so they break the Sea of Ice and come barging out. But yeah, that's basically what we have this turn. This is my musings on it, kind of getting caught up. It's going to be just a ridiculous amount of scripting. We're also doing some little fidgety things, like we're going to try to protect this from raiding. So we'll probably move in some reinforcements and try to get Fog Warriors up. That way, if they do low commitment bullshit raiding, we'll win. Yeah. That's basically it, guys. It's going to be a hell of a turn, and I will see you on the flip side.